Okay, so we talked over the weekend, and we came up with one of the topics that we wanted to discuss was are soulmates real? Is it a real thing? I have my own opinions, but I'm going to let Kim start out. Kim is the CEO and life coach for Soul Sandwich.
I
She
feel
already
so
has
important
her.
when you say stuff like that.
Well, hey, listen, you're in charge. So
Yeah. Oh
the
God.
she already has her Facebook group and everything, but she's in the midst of setting up her website, which is going to be phenomenal because she's using the same software that I'm using, and it's really fantastic. Squarespace, I can't say enough about them.
Hey,
So Kim,
Karen.
go ahead.
Sorry, shouting out to Karen. She
Kim,
is
go
my
ahead.
co-grandmother.
Oh,
She
okay,
is my
cool.
daughter's husband's mother, and she's wonderful. So I just want to say hi to her.
Okay,
Yep.
so go ahead and what is your take on soulmates? What do you think about that?
It depends on what kind of mood I'm in. Right.
Well, yeah.
Like I think we have, yeah, that could be any given day. I think we have this idea about soulmates. I think it's pretty ingrained culturally in us that a soulmate is forever. You know, it's your forever partner. Most definitely, it's romantic in nature, and I think that that definition has begun to change. I think people are kind of like burning out on, okay, I haven't met my soulmate, it must not be complete. And really, if you think about it, you know, a soulmate could be, and this is what I used to teach people. I used to say, who irritates you the most? And they'd name somebody, and I'd be like, that's your soulmate. And they'd be like, no, you know, because the idea that the sexual attraction has to be a component of soulmate is pretty deeply ingrained. And I say it's probably the person that's going to teach you the most about yourself. And that person or personality will keep reoccurring in different bodies throughout your life until you get it. So there's one version of soulmate. So I had a soulmate. She usually appears as a very short, petite, athletic brunette that just gives me a very difficult time when I'm on my job. So it had been happening, oh gosh, since I had been 20 years old. There was a girl at work, I waitressed at the time. In fact, it was a little place called Abby's in Olean, New York. I don't know if anybody is from Olean that's watching, but it was a great place to eat. But she just made my life difficult. And I met her, my soulmate, several times during the next, you know, careers that I had. And it finally stopped. Probably about 4 years ago when I ceased to be intimidated by other people. The moment that I gained some confidence or I decided it didn't matter what other people's opinion were of me, that's when I stopped seeing her. Does that make sense? She stopped showing up in
Okay.
my life. Now, maybe she was
Okay.
there, but she didn't bother me. She didn't. So I think a soulmate can be somebody who teaches you things. I
Right.
do think there are soulmates out there that are romantic. I don't know if they're forever. I think you wind up falling into the category twin flame.
Hmm.
um, I was just reading what Julia said about it's 28 degrees and my boiler is being repaired in case I disappear.
By the way, I would just like to go on the record and say I don't miss those days. I do not.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, so I think that there's the romantic aspect. Well, he's my soulmate. Well, what does that actually mean? Usually it means you're cut out of the same cloth, that you have found this person and they complete you. You know, these are the kind of conversations people have, that you're completed by another person. I want to hear kind of what you think about that aspect of it.
I've read some of the things that you're talking about when I was doing my research last night. I've never subscribed to the concept of soulmates because think about it. There's what are we up to? How many billion people are on this earth? Like 7, 8 billion or whatever.
Yeah.
The chances of you meeting the one person or in the world that's gonna be the perfect person for you, it's pretty much impossible because
Right.
maybe my soulmate is in India or Australia or
Is that my problem?
that's the problem. You need to
That's
get
it.
out. You need to get out of Radford.
Bangladesh.
Yeah, you need, yeah,
somewhere.
exactly. Exactly. So the
Right.
thing is that the chances of that person appearing to you,
Yeah.
like walking into your life physically, is so remote that it's a, you know, one in a 5 or 10 billion or whatever. So that's the reason why I'm never subscribed to that, because what I think is that, you know, people tend to look at the world as black and white. The world is not black and white at all. The world is all gray. And if we think of it in those ways, is that, you know, if you look at life in a continuum, so you have a straight line across, and there are
Right.
certain things that are more one way or more another, but most things fall within the middle, not the extremes.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way we need to really look at the world. It's a different perspective that
Uh,
looking at things the
there we go.
proper way.
We had bad
So
connection there. Go ahead. What were you saying? I didn't get any of that.
sorry about that. So we need to look at things in a different way. Stop looking at things as all black and white, like either I meet my soulmate or I never meet my soulmate. No, that's not it. We have people that come in and out of our lives who are good matches for us and bad matches for us. So maybe somebody checks off 4 of the 10 boxes and they're not the right one. Maybe someone checks off 8 of the 10 boxes and they're really pretty close to being the perfect person for you. So,
Right.
but what you're saying about, you know, that tension, you need someone who's going to be able to kind of you know, spur you to be a better person. You know, that's going to motivate you to want to be better than the person that you are just on your own. That's kind of, you know, what you're talking about, and that's what I read about last night. You know, I'll give you an example. So when I was living in New York, I dated a woman who I'd kind of known who she was, but I only ran into her like once or twice, and then somehow we met and we went out a few times, and she was absolutely wonderful.
Right.
And I'm sitting here going, man, she checks off literally all the boxes.
Mm-hmm.
But when we dated, there was some chemistry that was just missing there.
Right.
There just wasn't enough conversation. There wasn't enough of an edge, so to speak, to generate that chemistry to
Mm-hmm.
make that full connection. So, you know, we sit there sometimes and we go, man, I can't meet the one that checks off all the boxes. Well, sometimes the person that checks off all the boxes, that's not going to be the right person.
I think what you said before when you said that, does she make me a better person? Does she challenge me? I think this is in my opinion, this feels like a man theme. I've heard a lot of men say this. She makes me a better person. She inspires me to do better, right? Where you hear women say he takes care of me. He's always there for me. He's my rock. So there's like these themes about definitions of I think what works. Now I'm not saying that I I personally need somebody who's going to challenge me. I'm not saying I get bored easily, but usually if somebody has a lot of noise, what is that?
I'm sorry, I lost part of that. What did you say?
Yeah,
You got
there's a lot of interference today. I said I personally need somebody who's going to challenge me. Okay, but
right.
typically most women will say, "Boy, he really takes good care of me," and you know, we can all go back into the stereotypical reasons for that. But a lot of men will say she makes me a better person. And I'm always puzzled by that because I'm like, why weren't you
Well,
a better person before you met her? Like,
well, the thing
right?
is that
Like,
I think that what you're saying is that it's more of a personality type. There are a lot of guys out there who just want the woman to sit in the corner and be quiet until they want to go out, and then they want to put a little thing on their arm. Okay,
right.
there's that personality, and then there's the other personality that, you know, I need somebody who's going to mentally stimulate me and you know, mentally and emotionally stimulate me and connect with me in a way that's more than okay, we're going out with our friends, and I just need you to look really good. So I
Right.
think there's kind of those two, there's two personalities, and then obviously there's others, but you know, for the most part, you're going to be one way or the other for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, there's that old meme that people put out there that you know, a weak man cannot handle a strong woman or whatever, you know. And so
Right.
that's the thing. There's guys that are going to be, you know, going to want a woman who is stronger and more vocal and has opinions and things like that. And there's other guys that are going to be intimidated by that, you know.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
so what some guys are saying when they're saying that, you know, and guys, you can chime in on this if you want to type in what you're thinking as well. You know, give us comments because, you know, I may be wrong on this, but what I see and what I feel is that, you know, when the guy says she makes me a better person, it's that, you know what, she challenges me, but she challenges me in a good way. She's not nagging me. She's not putting me down. She's challenging me to do the right thing all the time and make good decisions and be there in a way that is going to be supportive of her. So there's
Do
that
you
kind
think
of.
left alone that they make bad decisions? I mean,
Well, I think what happens with a lot of guys is that they tend to get kind of lazy. I mean, look, I you know, I fully admit that I'm not, you know, there's times when I'm not the most industrious person.
okay.
But I think what happens is guys get kind of like complacent a little bit, where they'll kind of like, you know, look, my view of people, you know, for the most part is, you know, people are a lot like cows. If given the choice, they'll just go lay down, hang out, you know, sit in the sun and eat all day. You know what I mean? That's basically what guys do,
You
right?
calling me a cow? What?
Right. So, so the thing is that, you know, we need things that are going to motivate us to do certain things, and sometimes that can be a goal. Sometimes that can be money. Sometimes that can be a person. So, you know, there's all these different things that can motivate us. And so when a guy is saying she makes me a better person, it's that she challenges him in a way that he's taking care of things he really should be doing, you know, in a more assertive way, that he's getting things done. He's making a better life for himself and those he loves. So that's
Right.
the way I interpret that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's all about energy. And back to what you said about soulmates, I think a soulmate, if I was gonna like fully believe in soulmates, like I said, it depends on my mood and my experiences for the day, whether I
Right.
believe there's actually soulmates. I mean, I think I've experienced it at least once. I think it probably veers on the side of twin flame, right? That is more of a one energy comes together and creates some sort of creative service for humanity, right? It's not
Okay.
just about them, it's about other people. So that's more twin flame side versus soulmate. Whether I've experienced soulmate or twin flame or whatever, the internet, because the internet is full of, remember we talked about this? I said, boy, there's like 5,000 websites on your soulmate, how to attract your soulmate,
Right.
all this lot of hocus
Right.
pocus stuff. But I did have that, but it wasn't forever. I really do think that came into my life for a lesson. I mean, the Chinese believe, okay, that is predestined. Right. So your view was there's billions of people on the planet, and you know, one of them's going to match you, at least one, right? But the chances and the odds of actually finding them are very difficult.
Right.
So, but the Chinese believe that you're predestined. So right now, Tim, you have a red cord on your ankles, and it is, according to the Chinese, attached. Legend says it's attached to another person on the
Okay.
planet, and you two will come together, right? It's predestined that you'll be together.
How do I cut
So,
that cord? Let me get rid of that thing.
wow.
I'm under, so I'm like under some
Well,
kind
how
of,
dated.
I'm under some kind of world house arrest. It's like, right?
Yeah, really. You get a bill
Yeah.
for $300 a month. For
So
your
you know, I want to kind of go off of what you're saying now, and I there was an article that I read last night. I basically printed it out here, so I'm going to kind of read part of it.
Yeah, I just want to say hi to two people, just so
Go ahead.
you know, because I know you can't see that screen all the time. Hazel Kirk is watching. Hi, Hazel, Mrs. Kirk, and Rick Dallenbeck is watching. So I just want to say hi to both of them. If anybody during the time that we're on has a question, please write it in the comments, and we'll kind of tackle that about soulmates, twin flames. You know,
Yeah, we
are
love
they
comments
forever?
and questions and all that stuff. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So I read this article by Dr. Shauna Springer, and she initially had written some things about soulmates and said they do not exist. And then she wrote another article saying,
That
you know,
woman.
yeah, right. Yeah, right, exactly. A woman saying, you know, poo-pooing soulmates.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
then she wrote another article saying that she does believe soulmates exist, but not in the traditional way we've been taught.
Okay.
So she said, I'd like to utterly reverse my position and assert that soulmates do in fact exist. While I do not believe there is such a thing as finding your perfectly matched soulmate, I've seen plenty of evidence that we can become each other's soulmates as the result of a deep and lasting love relationship. If humans can develop finely honed skills in music, athletics, and language arts, wouldn't it be equally possible for them to become perfectly suited and completely irreplaceable to their spouses? Someone who becomes fluent in a language thinks in that language. There is no effortful retrieval once the language becomes second nature.
Right.
Love and respect for each other have been practiced so repeatedly that thoughts of separation or divorce are completely alien. The partnership has become so multifaceted and the compatibility so intricately dovetailed that one spouse could never be replaced by anyone else. Two individuals who have become perfect for and irreplaceable to each other have become soulmates. In this way, soulmates become each other's one in a billion perfect match. So she's saying that over time, most likely over, let's say, decades. She's not talking about like someone that you meet and then 2 weeks later, oh, you're my soulmate. No, it's
Right.
over a long period of time, a committed relationship where maybe you don't necessarily need to be living together. You don't need to be married. You don't need to, but being in a situation where you're connected with that person over a
Right.
long period of time, and like I said, if let's say if somebody checks 5 or 8 of the boxes that you're looking for out of the top 10, maybe over time they start checking off more boxes. They learn who you are, what you need, and you learn who they are and what they need, and there is a bonding that goes on that doesn't take place when you're just in the short term, say less than a year or 2 years or whatever, and you haven't had enough time to know each other that you experience, and all these different things, like someone gets sick and how do you react to that, or you
Right.
get sick or they get
Right.
sick or whatever, so how does that all play out, or is it death in the family or something like that, where you have a stressful time to see how that person reacts to that, and are they there for you, and how that all works. So
Well, I think it speaks to, is love something that occurs naturally or is it a learned skill? Lust occurs naturally,
yeah, sure,
right?
yeah,
Physical attraction, you don't even have to think about it. You could be walking, into an elevator with somebody who's wearing the right cologne, has the right pheromones, and you're like,
right,
wow, I got to get to know that person. I mean, that's that whole biological imperative for procreation.
right,
Sometimes past procreation, being
right.
able to procreate, as you get older, but it's still there. But then is love just a learned skill? Is a soulmate then just basically what I hear her saying, and I'm not sure, is that soulmating is a learned skill,
Right.
time, dedication.
Yeah, that I think it's learned, but it's a connection that develops over time. It's not. It's more than that. It's that you've gone through all of these different experiences. I don't. It's learned, but I think it's more of it's an innate chemical. Well, I lost Kim. Whoop, sorry about that. Let's see if we can get her back up here.
There we go.
There, okay. I can hear
Sorry,
you.
like
I
it
can. That's
just
okay. I can
wouldn't.
actually hear you better. It seems like you have a better connection now.
Oh, good, good.
So I
Okay.
was just saying that I think it's more than just a learned situation. I think it's actually more of like a chemical bonding that happens over time. It's more of an innate experience. It's not something that you're really conscious of. It's something that kind of develops over that period of time due to things that happen in life, just reacting to life and sharing those experiences in a way that bonds you to that person that's more than just you're really conscious of. I think it's more of an unconscious bonding that happens that brings that love to a whole new level.
Well, that's like with arranged marriages, all over the world. Other than Western countries, people are still engaging in arranged marriages and matchmakers, right? And those two people get together, and a lot of them have as much success rate as people who in the States fall in love, of
Right.
loving each other by the daily things that they do for one another versus, ooh, how I feel about you, and oh, I don't have any feelings, so therefore we shouldn't be together any longer. Instead
Have
of
you
being
ever
able to work through that, right?
have you ever seen the show Married at First Sight?
Yes, it's very weird.
Well, I love that show. Because
It's
I find it
very strange.
I
Yeah.
find it fascinating because it's taking the study of relationships, the psychological, the sociological, um, and trying to pair people up in that arranged kind of a marriage
Right.
where you're trying to eliminate a lot of the negatives that people go through when they get married, the
Right.
reasons for divorce, trying to lower those circumstances and trying to find connections as to why people work. And so, sometimes it works out great. I mean, they've
Right.
had a few marriages that are still going strong a few years later.
Right. Right.
And there's others that flame out very quickly, even though you sit there and go, I mean, these people, they're literally, you're sitting there going perfectly matched. I mean, they
Right.
like this, they're matched physically perfectly. They're matched in a lot of their background and things like that. But again, for some reason, it just doesn't work. And we still haven't figured that out yet. How does that work? I mean, there's, tens of millions of people on dating sites and things like that, and they still haven't really figured it out yet. Yeah, people, there's a lot of people that do get married from that, but you know what? There are a lot of people that get divorced from that too. So we
True.
haven't.
And people always say, they go, oh, well, my cousin's sister's aunt's brother
Right.
met this woman on Match.com
Oh
or
yeah.
whatever, and they got married. And I'm like, oh, that's nice. I mean, it's always some little old lady from Texas who wins the lotto too, and you never know who that is. So it's this idea that you're going to find your soulmate, that you're going to be in charge of this, and where that idea is actually opposite from any of the literature on soulmates. It's something that you attract, or it's something you draw to yourself.
Well, if you answer these 20 questions or whatever, we'll get you your soulmate. It's like, so you're going to McDonald's. Let's see. I want cheese on that. I don't want fries. I want onion rings instead, and I want a shake. And it's like, no, that's not the way it really works. But
Right.
the people listen. They don't tell you about, hey, we had 2,000 marriages last year, and it's like, yeah, but sorry about that. But 40,000 people dropped off the system because they were so frustrated. So it's. Yeah. That's the deal, is that you get the positive, but you don't always get the negative from that stuff. So,
right.
So
what do you think of twin flames? What do you think of twin flames versus soulmates? I'll read you the definition I found.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead with that.
Twin flames: when our own energetic cloth grows so big with love that our energy splits in two, this other half becomes our twin flame. It occurs over many lifetimes. Okay. That was the. I know your mind's going to explode, isn't it?
Yeah.
Soulmates are different souls we encounter on our path that are cut from the same energetic cloth as us and are sent to help awaken and challenge us. But twin flames, it's when my own energy splits in two, okay, and manifests this other being. This is a very great.
So wait a minute. So do I have to believe in reincarnation for this, or what?
Yes, you do. Yes,
I do. So basically, what happens is, you die, your soul splits in 2 or 4 or 12 or whatever.
You don't. Well, okay, yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. So your soul splits in all these different pieces and goes all these other. I mean, look. I think that when you have someone that you love and care about and they pass away, you're still going to carry a piece of them with you. Whether you consider it, yes, I'm getting a piece of their soul or whatever, I mean, yeah, I mean, you're going to have a part of them with you. They've contributed to who you are in life. So
Right.
you're always going to have a part of them with you because they've helped you build. You know, it's just like if you were building a house and someone comes over and helps you build the house,
Right.
you know, their contribution helped to build that house. Well, the same thing with a person. You know, if someone contributes to your life and contributes to you becoming the person that you are, then they're always going to be with you. You know,
Right.
so yes,
Then what do you do if you meet a soulmate and you're still pining over your lost love? I mean, can you have more than one soulmate?
well, that's kind of my whole premise is that you're going to have all these different people come into your life who check off a number of the boxes, whether it be 4 out of 10 or 8 out of 10 or whatever it is. And so you have opportunities to decide whether you're going to be with that person. You're going to choose that, you know what, this person checks off 8 of the 10 boxes and the two other boxes are really not that important to me. And I can accept what they offer to me and that I can accept their love and I can
Mm-hmm.
love them for who they are. Um,
Is that settling?
well, it depends. I mean, you know, it depends if you know, how do you rank those? You know, if you want to say I have 10 deal breakers or I have 10 things that I really don't want to settle for, but that person, you know, they only have, let's say, two of those things. Hey, that's pretty good. You know, if you get 80% of what you want in a person, that's pretty good. I mean, that's, you know, maybe someday you do get 10 out of 10, but does it make sense to get rid of the person that's 8 out of 10 for the person that's 10 out of 10? I mean, that's a big
Yeah.
risk at that point, you know,
That's futurist.
and there's a lot of people that do that. You know, sometimes it works out, but more often than not, it doesn't. You know, because
Right.
again, you got to go back to, you know, not only is it do they check off the boxes, but do you have the chemistry? Are you able to communicate and work together to build a relationship? Hi, Jason. What's up, Boogie? So that's the thing is that we gotta make sure that you know we're making the right decisions based
How do you know
on.
the right decision? So, I
Oh,
mean, how
you
do you
don't know. You
know?
don't know. You don't know because you don't know what the
Yeah.
future holds. You don't know what the future holds. And again, you could pick out somebody and say, "Man, this person is really right for me and everything," and then all of a sudden you come into a crisis. Somebody in the family passes away, or you know, let's say like years ago, I was in a car accident. You know,
Mm-hmm.
maybe that person can't handle the stress of, oh, you're not working for a while, you're not feeling well. Maybe that person isn't a nurturing kind of person, and they kind of hit the bricks from that. You know, so
That is awful to go through. I had a friend who
yeah,
went through that, that he got extremely sick. He had to go to the hospital, and his partner was like, "Oh, okay, I'm going to stay home."
yeah,
He's like, "I'm really sick. I really need you." And the other
yeah,
person just didn't seem to care. I think it really put a rift
yep,
between them that was never resolved because you know how it is,
yeah,
right? When the crisis is over, then you cover that up, that argument up, and you go on because there's so much to lose if you were to stand on that and say, I don't think you're right for me,
right,
right? It's easier just to cover that over and hope that you don't get sick again or worry in the back of your mind what's going to happen when we get older. The
yeah. You don't.
problem was that when the other partner got sick, he was all there for that person. Do you know what I mean? And so then there's this total imbalance between the
Yep,
relationship of what you're willing to do for me and what you're not. You
yeah,
expect that
absolutely,
person to do that.
absolutely. I mean, you expect that they're gonna, you know, is you know, and when people say that, you know, I need you to be 100% in this relationship, well, it's like, okay, yeah, fine.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't be 100% all the time. It's like, you know, sometimes it's a 50-50 relationship. Sometimes it's an 80-20. You know, that person is sick. Maybe they can only contribute 20% to the relationship at that point. The other person has to carry the other 80%. You know, I've seen people talk about that where, you know,
Right.
it's never, you know, 100% in the relationship. It's always split in some way. And you kind of have to figure out who's able to pick up the slack when things are when you're having problems. You know, somebody loses a
Right.
job, somebody's sick, somebody you know is in a car accident or something where you know they need help for a while to recover.
Well, I
So
think
that
that's
other
the difference between being in love with the doer and being in love with the being, right? I don't know if I qualify a relationship based on what somebody can do for me. I've gotten so independent at this point in
Right.
so many ways that I almost think it would be hard for me to depend on somebody.
Right.
That's probably going to be my problem versus being a super dependent person or woman on a man to provide and all those things. And I'm not holding myself up like I'm the queen of anything. I'm really not. I'm just saying that that would be harder for me because I've been single for quite a while now.
Me
But
too. And I'm the same way.
I don't look at a relationship like, well, did you take out the trash? I mean, I think that's should be naturally born out of the love relationship that you're going to do what you're supposed to do to keep that household functioning. But I'm not
Right.
sure, like, if a partner was sick, that I would be like, oh, you're not pulling your weight here. Because commitment says the relationship is more about us communicating. Now, if he were to shut down or be angry with me or not want to talk to me, I'd probably take more offense at that than I would. I have to drive you to the hospital 6 days a week.
Well,
Does
here's,
that make sense?
yeah, but you know what? I've also seen other situations. I've met people that talk about, and a lot of times this will happen with very religious couples where they want a very traditional, 1950s kind of relationship where
I worry about that.
the woman stays home, she takes care of the home, and the woman is
Yeah.
fine doing that. She wants that. She doesn't want to have a career and go out and do these things. But there are people out there that like that kind of relationship where one person is fully taking care of them in one area or a couple different areas, and the other person's role is to take care of them in other ways. So I think that's one thing that kind of it does hurt relationships nowadays is that people don't figure out their roles before getting into a serious relationship of, okay,
Right.
here's what I bring to the relationship. Here's what I expect from you. And the other person saying, okay, well, I like this, I don't like that. They don't really communicate that, and that's contributed to a lot of problems in relationships now because, over the last I think about, 26 years ago I graduated from college. I'm very
Mm-hmm.
old. And so back then it wasn't. I guess it was kind of a different world. It wasn't like today where women are going out and having children without having a guy in their life.
Right.
Back then it was kind of taboo to wait a minute. You're freezing your embryos. You're freezing your eggs, and then you're going to go to a sperm bank. Now people just do it, and it's no big deal. But back then it was kind of like, so you're going to go and have a baby with no guy in your life, no partner or
Right.
anything, even a, if you're a lesbian, a female partner. But
Mm-hmm.
people are doing it nowadays and it's not really a thing. So
No,
roles
and I
have
think it's
changed.
really admirable. I mean,
Roles have changed. Yeah. I mean, I don't have a problem with it or anything. It's great. If you can, provide for that child and everything, I think it's great. But,
right.
it's the roles have changed over the last 25 years, I would say. And I think a
Sure.
lot of people don't really know and haven't really defined what their roles are going to be when they get into a relationship. They just kind of like, this person makes me feel really good,
Right.
and so
Right.
they don't really talk about the deep stuff. Okay, how do you think we should, if we decide someday to get married and have children, how do you think we should raise those kids? Should we incorporate corporal punishment into raising the
Right.
child or no?
Oh, those are
How,
great questions to ask ahead of time, but nobody asks those ahead of
you
time.
know, nobody has that conversation. And then when they start having kids, it's like one wants to spank and the other one says, "Oh my God, how could you ever do that?" So these are our roles. So
Well, I
some
think,
people see themselves as being a disciplinarian or being um, a certain way, fulfilling a certain role that they
mhm.
had probably growing up. They saw that and said, "You know what? I turned out okay. So this is the way I'm going to,
Yeah,
be
this is
in
the way
my
my parents did
relationship."
it.
Right, this is the way
Hmm.
I'm going to be in my relationship, and my parents are still together, 50 years later, and now, you know what, they since they're together, then they must have done it right. So I'm going to be the same way in my relationship, and raise my kids all the same way and all that. And sometimes,
And
sometimes it makes sense, other times it doesn't.
I think we kind of put our parents on a pedestal anyhow and say, "Oh, my parents are soulmates. They have been together for 50 years," but we don't know the struggles that they went through, and they're not about to tell us the struggles they went through.
Right,
They don't want to look human in front of us any more than we want them to look human, and
right.
so we kind of pedestal them even into adulthood and say, "Oh, well, you didn't, you know, you're not like me." You know, you
Right.
guys are perfect. You guys have it together, and I don't know why I can't keep my relationships together when my parents have been, you know, together. So I I think that parents may not have been soulmates, but the commitment was strong and the roles were strong. But that doesn't mean everybody was happy in their role either. I mean, sometimes society imposes roles on people, and that's what you think that is. I mean, I remember when I was young and first got married, I really felt like I really had this strong identity with my role, which really clouded my experience as a human being to know what I wanted. It was
Hmm.
really about what does everybody else want, which
Right.
isn't bad to be in service to others. I mean,
Right.
I truly believe that you can be in service to others and not be codependent, but I think I was pretty codependent at that time.
Right.
And so my version of, you know, love was to accept everything, to deny nothing, and to do what everybody else wanted me to do, and to kind of go along with the path instead of creating my path.
Well,
If you had told me at 20, Kim, you should create your path, you should fill in the blank, I would have been like, oh my God, no, that's selfish, right? That's not what a true relationship is or what true love is. And actually, I
right.
think now on the other side of 50, 52 in April, not too far over, but I think I look at that a lot differently. Like when I'm really talking to 20-year-olds, I'm always about like, well, what do you want? You know, that's as important as what the other person wants. And I think that's a very hard balance to find, you know, especially if you've got highfalutin ideas that you're going to, you know, meet your perfect match, which I
Hmm.
think a lot of people think that that's the key. Is the key that he should act and think and do things like you? Or is the key that he should be different than you and give you a little bit of an edge and challenge you, like we had talked about in the beginning of this episode, you know?
Right.
But those aren't questions you're asking when you are flush with lust and, you know, biochemicals, because you don't want those
Right.
bad feelings. You said it. You said, she makes me feel good, right? Whoever,
Right.
you know, so you don't want to mess with that by
Right.
asking questions about spanking or not spanking, or how are we going to
Right.
handle our finances? Are you going to
Right.
allowed to are you going to have your own separate bank account, which comes
Right.
between lots of people, right? They have a joint checking account, and then she might want to have her own checking account, and there's a lot of push, vice versa, a lot of pushback on that.
Right.
Have you ever experienced that where somebody wanted you to do a joint account or?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I kind of, yeah, I think that's a real negative, so to speak. I guess, I think in certain circumstances, I've dated people who were looking at me as somebody who was going to kind of bail them out, and
Mm-hmm.
I am very, willing to help people and give and stuff
Right.
like that, but I'm not an ATM for someone,
Do you
and
find that a common theme with
Uh,
women?
yeah. Well, yeah, see, again, I spent the last 13 years in South Florida, and that's very much a lifestyle there. It's very much a
Right.
lifestyle. There's a lot of people in South Florida, men and women both, who have really screwed up their lives, and they're looking for somebody to bail them out. And
Okay.
maybe they have horrible credit, maybe they've had a bankruptcy, and it's not like one of these. Oh, they had a terrible tragedy, and
Right.
it's what they just went out and spent too much, and they didn't make enough money, and they
Mm-hmm.
didn't manage their finances properly, and so a lot of times
Isn't
that
that
would.
scary? Oh, don't you find that scary that there's women out there who are looking for love and financial
Oh my God, yeah.
stability when they
I've
wake up? I
listen.
mean, how can you tell? Like, how
I've
do you tell in the beginning?
it's funny. I've had women literally say, in the first couple of dates, how much of my bills are you going to cover? And I'm like, what? Really?
Really?
Yeah, like it's they look at it as a business deal, not a relationship.
I can't even imagine saying those words out loud. Like,
Sure,
I
sure.
can't even imagine going, hey,
It's a different dating world.
flip me a 50. I want to go shopping. I mean, it
Right,
just,
right.
that doesn't, yeah, that's so weird.
So that's there are people out there that are doing that. Obviously, they don't believe in soulmates. They're not. Their soulmate has an Amex Black card or whatever it is. You know what I mean? That's
Well, I
their
think
idea of
they
a
call
that's their
you your
idea of a
soulmate.
yeah the
Sugar daddy, you.
how many thousands every month are you going to give me to go shopping? That's their soulmate.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, but I think, getting back to, where we were is, um, like the article I read where they're talking about developing something over a long period of time. I don't, I mean, look, there's love or lust at first sight and everything. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's a legitimate thing.
Right.
But to really know whether you have that soulmate, I think she's right when she says, this is something that develops over a long period of time, the ups and downs of life, and that bond that's formed over that long period of time is what really makes it concrete soulmates. I don't think you
Yeah.
can really have but again, it's, I'm not saying that, there's only one soulmate out there for you. I think there's probably dozens, but what also plays into it is timing. There's
Oh,
timing
time.
that
Yeah.
plays a huge role in it.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in situations where I just wasn't ready for a relationship, and I met
Right.
some really great women, but you know what? I just, for one reason or another, maybe I was getting over a breakup, or I was transitioning, maybe I was relocating or something, and
Mm-hmm.
all these different things that happen in life that preclude you from being able to give and accept love at that particular time. So,
Well, I think too, if you're going to define soulmate, maybe it's not so much, at least in my own experience, when I'm thinking along the lines of, oh my God, I love the way he makes me feel, versus I really want to show somebody how much I love them. I know
mhm,
I'm kind of like in that, I don't know, what do you call it? That space, that chasm between,
right.
my feelings and maybe a real deep committed relationship when I'm saying, what can I do for them? How could I, boy, I would really like to make them as happy as they possibly could be, versus I really want to be happy. And
Mhm.
so it just, and like you said, people can come into your life and you're in that, I really want you to make me happy. And I don't think that those relationships last because you're really looking out for yourself only. But I think when you're looking at, I really want to make somebody happy, and I'm using happy in a loose term. I don't know if anybody can actually make you happy, but bring happiness into your life. I'm probably closer to finding that soulmate than I would be if I wasn't. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, I think that what you're really saying is that, if I can come into someone's life and, reduce their anxiety
Mm-hmm.
and bring a sense of calmness to their life and bring a
Right.
sense of, that there's someone there that's going to be there for them in the rough times, someone that's
Mm-hmm.
going to surprise them every so often with something kind and considerate. I think that's,
Right.
that's really what you can really ask for nowadays in relationships. I don't think it doesn't have to be really complicated. It doesn't have to be over the top. I think sometimes people are thinking like, oh, for example, like the show The Bachelor, oh, what? You didn't give me a helicopter ride for my birthday? It's like, no, that's not,
I think
that's
it's
not.
a great way to meet men. Just go on TV and have the whole world watch your mistakes.
Oh,
That's
yeah, that's great.
bad
Yeah,
enough that Bradford PA watches all my mistakes. I can't even imagine,
right,
right?
right.
Like, I mean, how do you fall in love on that show? Come on. Like,
Well, look,
how?
uh, the reason why a lot of those relationships never work out is,
Hmm.
you first of all, you have people in a situation where they are taking these amazing trips that can never be matched,
Right.
and when you do that, your endorphin level is increased. So
Hmm.
you are more available to fall in love when you're taking these incredible trips and having these amazing experiences, and then all of a sudden they dump you off back at home and you're back in your shitty little apartment, in wherever, and you're going, hey, you're not really that interesting, dude. It's like um, yeah,
My,
yeah, you know what? It was great when we were in Paris, but you know what? You really suck in Paris, Texas now. You know what I mean? It's like uh, so yeah, that show is kind of made for that. In that, you know what? Oh my God, I'm having this great experience. I'm so in love with this person and everything.
right.
But then when you get back to real life, it's like I don't really even like. I wouldn't even hang out with you. You know what I mean? And that's why those relationships in like
Like
3 months after,
beer colored glasses or
yeah,
rose colored
like
glasses
three,
or
yeah,
anything where
three
you're like
months later,
right.
they have restraining orders against each other and stuff. So that stuff isn't so real at all.
Well, when we were
Um,
talking about endorphins, my grandmother turned 100 in October. Now, this woman, she owns her own apartment, has a cat, has somebody come in a couple days a week, watch out for her. She's hysterical. She said, "Oh, Kimmy," she's from New Bedford, Massachusetts.
right.
She said, "Oh, Kimmy," she says, "I'd go dancing." She said, and I would fall in love every week. So every week when I talk to her, she says to me, "Do you have a boyfriend?" Every single conversation, and I go, "No, I don't." And she's like, "Oh, you don't want to be an old maid, do you?" She
Oh my
goes,
God.
every time. So I've gotten used to it now. Like, it used to hurt my feelings before. I was like, "Oh yeah," and she
Right.
goes, "What are you doing with your life?" And I said, "Well, I work a lot and I go to school." And she goes, "And you don't have a boyfriend?" I said, "No." And she goes, "What kind of life is that?" And when a
That,
100-year-old person says that to you, it has a lot of weight.
yeah. Right.
Maybe I work too much and go to school too much. But she said she would go out dancing and she would fall in love. This was in the 40s, when they'd go out and dance with
Yep.
soldiers
Yep.
and fall in love, and love was in the air. And I really think that dancing alone creates endorphins,
Well, that and if you look at, I've studied a lot about World War II. If you look
Yeah,
back at that time, they literally thought the world might end.
exactly.
That the world was coming apart at that point, and guys were going
Yes.
off to war. And you know what? This may be the last time I ever see you. And that's
Hmm.
like that. Talking about getting the endorphins going. It's like, oh my God, we got to go
Yeah,
get
I'm going
married.
on a secret mission.
Yeah,
Yes.
oh, I'm leaving in 2 weeks. Well, we got to get married before you go. It's like really, and
Yeah,
then they went off to war, and some of the guys came back, and it was like, ugh, I really don't even like you. It's like, you
that's
know,
where true commitment comes in, right?
right, right. Now you're
Those are the people that married been 50, 60 years, you
right.
know.
The guy comes
Yeah.
back, he's like, I survived the war for this.
Hey. Oh gosh, that's funny. That's funny. Well, do you
So,
think
ladies,
that? Yeah,
we have some ladies that are watching right now. Do you have any thoughts about soulmates? That's what we're talking about today. If you have
Jacqueline
any
Pickens,
comments,
Cindy
please
Kaufman.
give us your comments. Kim can read off your comments, and we can talk about them. So, if you have thoughts or questions or whatever, we've been talking here for a while. So, we'd love to hear if you guys have thoughts or comments about that. Do you believe in soulmates? Do you not believe in soulmates? If so, why or why not? Um, we neither of us believes in the traditional soulmate. I met somebody, let's say last Friday, and you know what? They are my soulmate. We've been out 3 times in the last week, and they are my soulmate. We don't believe really in that 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 concept. So what we're saying is that if you're gonna be someone's soulmate, it's gonna be something that develops over time, typically over decades when you're together with someone, most likely married, um, and you've gone through the ups and downs of life together. So if you guys have comments, let us know. Um, Kim, is there anything else you want to touch on at this point about soulmates?
I love histories. I'd like to touch on history on soulmates. So, um, Plato wrote about soulmates way before we've discussed it, right? And he said that humans were, when they were created, they had 4 arms, 4 legs, and a single head with 2 faces. And they became so powerful that the gods were threatened and thought that the humans were going to kill off the gods. So Zeus had a plan. He decided to split them in half, right? Well, they just kind of laid there and they couldn't eat or anything. So then Apollo felt pity on them and he sewed them back up. And there you have men and women. There was actually three categories: men, women, and androgynous. And so they split the humans, and that from that time forward, each human is always looking for that other part of itself that was originally there. Also, then Aristotle said love is composed of a single soul inhabiting 2 bodies. So these are very romantic notions if you think about it. But they also said that love was the madness of the gods. So which is
So
kind of true.
is Aristotle saying that the man or the woman has the soul?
I don't know. It just says love is composed of a single soul inhabiting two bodies.
I
So when
got
two people get together, they share a single soul, and these things aren't, life partner. I guess if you're going to divide at least what the Greeks thought of soulmates versus what you and I might think of life partnering, where you are committed to that person, where you go through thick and thin, but that soulmates were more of a destiny thing. Like I said before, the Chinese believe that you were predestined. The Jewish people, also the Yiddish people, also used that it was the word was bashert, and it meant predestined. Like
right.
it was meant to happen. So if you had a matchmaker in your town at that time, and they put two people together, that had nothing to do with the matchmaker, had nothing to do with the two people. It had everything to do with it was supposed to happen. So my
Hmm.
question for you is, Andy Lewis wrote, I have
Yep.
found my bashert.
Yep.
Yeah. Andy has found D. She's a beautiful woman. And I believe that, Andy. I do. But do you believe in destiny? Do you believe in preordained cosmic sort of, you're supposed to do certain things in this life? I mean, you don't have to limit it to soul, you know, soul
Yeah,
partners, but
I think there's such a thing out there as, some kind of destiny or karma, that things happen for a reason. You're put in a place for a
right,
reason, like I was, going to go to Mexico and Central America, and you know what? Things happened at a period of time when I was just about to leave that I was like, you
right,
know what? I don't have a good feeling about this, so that's why I didn't go. I was like,
right.
there are a few different things that happened. I was like, what? I'm not comfortable right now doing this because, I was having issues with my phone and my tablet where
Right.
I wasn't getting coverage and I couldn't find where I was. And I was like, wait a minute, if I can't do that in the United States, I don't want to go down to Mexico or any of these other
Yeah.
countries
Yeah.
if I can't locate myself and get back to where I'm staying and everything else. Plenty
Mm-hmm.
of there are like a lot of warnings with the State Department says don't drive in this area after dark and stuff. And if I'm in
Yeah.
a situation where I can't get back to where I'm staying before dark, I'm like, and I'm lost. Excuse me, I'm lost, and that's just not a good situation. I'm not in this life to get myself in trouble. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's how I look at things. Is that what something's sending me a signal here to wait.
Okay.
Now's not the right time. So yeah, I pay attention, and a lot of it, it's our gut. It's our gut feeling.
Mm-hmm.
That certain things are going to happen for us, and certain things aren't going to happen. I've been through a lot of different things in life. Near death experiences and stuff like that. And I'm just
Mm-hmm.
like, whatever happens, happens. You just got to roll with it.
Yeah,
And
I'm at
so,
that point right now. I couldn't have said that maybe last year or the year before. I'm at the point where whether has to do with love or moving or my degree, I'm working on my master's right now. I'm at the place of surrender, which is a lot different than I give up. I've done the I give up and then you take it back. But I think at this point I'm just kind of oh, Andy wrote, I don't know if you
yeah,
can see this,
yeah, I
wait
saw
or
it.
buy a sat phone. Yeah. Andy had spent some time down in South America, so I think he knows what
Yeah,
he's talking about in the sat phone.
cool. Yeah, I'll
So
definitely check
yeah,
that out. I need to see if that's going to work for me. I know that some people have said it does, but I also have to look at the expense of it too. So I'm trying to
right.
keep the expenses as low as possible if I end up doing that trip. So
Hey, my moderator, Greg Dennis, over at I Grew Up in Bradford, PA, is watching. Hey, Greg, say hi.
hey,
Yeah,
Greg.
it's nice when people watching during the day.
Yeah,
This has been great. So, just one last question I have for you. So, do you think after our conversation you could isolate a time where you think you might have met your soulmate and it just wasn't the right time? Not soulmates, but soulmate.
so you're trying to say that there's one person that could have
I'm
been?
going from the theory that there's one
No,
person. So
no,
I'm saying hypothetically. You don't
no.
think
I
you have.
think I think there have been times where I've met certain women that I could have had a long term relationship, maybe marriage. I don't know, but I don't like I said. I really timing is a huge thing. And
Right.
so there are times when I haven't followed through because I couldn't honestly give that person my all.
Right.
You know, I couldn't be there for that person the way that I feel I need to be in a relationship, or you know, so I don't sit back and go, man, I should have really followed up with that woman, or I should have made more of an effort. I mean, you give what you can when you can. You know, you try to make that effort the best you can when you're in that situation. And maybe, maybe sometimes one of the things we also tend to do is we kind of look back in fondness on certain things and, say, oh man, maybe I should. No, because it's at that point in time too. Maybe there were things that kind of threw us off and we said, really don't trust that situation. I don't trust
Right.
that person enough. But now we look
Right.
back and we say, well, maybe I should. No, you can't really do that. You can't Monday morning quarterback your
Right.
relationship. So
What are you talking about?
not
My
good.
favorite thing is to rehash my life. What?
Oh yeah, there you go. So what about
Uh,
you?
Me? I think I did at one time. I
Yeah,
think I think that not everything lasts forever. So I think that we were supposed to meet. I think I learned a lot of lessons about myself, and I really miss that person. But you can't really make somebody be with you, unless you want to be a stalking crazy,
right, right,
you know. So, which I choose not to be. So I think that it was a really good thing. There was bad things about it and there was good things about it, and that's the human experience. If you're always looking for the good, or if you can only look at your life lessons as being valuable if they were the way that you wanted things to go, then you're missing a whole half of that piece of not getting your own way sometimes is great for you.
right.
It's your ego. The ego always wants to get its own way. It always demands what it thinks is right. And it feels very right too. You could say, well, that person should be with me, right? That's my soulmate.
Right.
Well, that's your interpretation. And there was two relationships. When I was in marriage counseling long time ago, um, I had a counselor say to me and my ex-husband, well, actually, he said to me, my ex-husband had left the room for a minute, and he looked at me and he said, there are two marriages here. And I said, what are you talking about? And he goes, there's two marriages, Kim. He says, there's the marriage you experience and there's a marriage that he is experiencing. And that was, for all that therapy, right?
Yeah.
Like that was the best $70 session I think I can think of in 20 years that I ever had spent on therapy,
Right.
because that opened up my eyes to the fact that it wasn't all about me. And I think you can have a soulmate and you can get very self-absorbed when they leave you, and you can feel like it's all about you and your longing and your heartache, and instead of remembering those lessons. So that's where I'm at today. Like I said, last year I probably would have just cried when you asked me that
Right.
question. Right.
Yeah.
But growth, it's all about growth. And will I meet that person again? Maybe not. I'm not really convinced that there's a next lifetime, but if there is, maybe I'll have to go through this all over again until something's righted.
Oh my God, I gotta go through this all over again. Jeez, I don't even like it this time.
Puberty, the whole bit.
Ugh,
Right? I know
ugh.
I don't like that theory either.
Right.
So, but yeah, and will I meet somebody in the future that it may be even better or different? I have to accept different. Different does
Right.
not necessarily mean settling. That's a whole nother conversation. But maybe I need to look at it differently than that very explosive, intense relationship that I had.
Right.
And I don't mean explosive anger. I'm just saying it was a very intense situation. So
Right.
then, what do? Then you look for what satisfied you, and that was the intense. So you're always looking for the intense, and you're probably passing over people that would be excellent in your life and great life partners.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
That's my 2 cents.
All right.
Okay.
So we're gonna wrap up, and we're gonna do some more stuff today. Look for our videos. We're gonna try to do this every Monday. Probably gonna start doing them later in the evening, but stay tuned. We'll be announcing new videos, new topics. We like to kind of tease you a little bit, so we may not release the topic, but we're gonna be doing regular videos every week going forward. And then when Kim is laid up with her surgery, we're going to, have some some chats, some video chats that we're doing that are going to be recorded ahead of time. So stay tuned. Email us or hit us up on Facebook. That's probably the best way. You can hit Kim up on Soul Sandwich. You can hit me up either on my website, midlifecrisistraveler.com, or you can also just send me a message on Facebook or in my Facebook group, Midlife Crisis Traveler. And
yeah, feel free to send me a message on my regular Facebook page,
yep.
or you can write on Soul Sandwich Living Better page. And any questions, comments about today's episode or any episodes you'd like to see,
Yeah,
we would
if
be
you have a
really open to
topic,
that.
we'll definitely consider it. You know, we'll try to put something together, and if you have a good topic, we'll even have you on video. We'll include you on the show. So, you know, if you want to be on camera and get famous with the billions of people that watch us, definitely give us a good topic. We'll bring you in, and you can be a YouTube star.
Okay.
All right, thanks everybody for joining us today, and we'll see you soon.
Yep, thanks.